am Effie Barker. We are right here in downtown. And you say we're not going away with these issues. What are those issues? Good evening. Welcome to the special edition of I'm Effie Barker. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Hello, Great Britain. Hello, world. Welcome to Effie Barker Human Interest. I'm your host, Effie Barker. I am a Filipino American immigrant and I'm married to an Englishman. I moved here in the UK in 2019 and now living in Portsmouth in Hampshire with our 4-year-old daughter. I'm a former TV host and reporter in Los Angeles, California. As an immigrant myself, I have always been passionate about the journey and the sacrifices that immigrants had to go through in order to settle in a new country. And I know that there are so many little things that many people know little about, the challenges that we immigrants had to hurdle, the loneliness, the hopelessness, while we are adapting to a new environment. And to some who start to have a family, the challenges are insurmountable and it can be overwhelming. And most women had to deal with not only with the physical changes after birth and at the same time looking after the baby. And we often get stuck in allowing the problem to compound upon ourselves until we believe that a solution is hopeless. Now, the show Effie Barker Human Interest stems from my own personal journey as an immigrant, and I'd like to use this platform to be the voice of not only with the immigrants, but to everyone who feel the need to be heard. And I want to delve into the daily life, the ups and downs, the joys and sorrows, and the triumphs and failures of being an immigrant here in the United Kingdom. And it is my desire that people will have a full grasp of the life of the immigrants and to inspire them to be more compassionate and understanding. Right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all, wherever you are in the world. Welcome.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here in the UK and, of course, around the world. We celebrate Mother's Day here in the UK in March. Not today, but we celebrated here last Sunday, the 10th of March.
What an exciting day today because I will be talking to an American immigrant who is originally from New York City and she was involved in various social advocacies when she was in the States. She left in 2019 and moved to Barcelona and lived there for a bit. And she now lives in Rugby with her family here in the UK. She's here with us today and we are delighted. She will share with us her experiences and her life here in the UK as an American immigrant. Let us welcome Karen Lenovoy. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Effie. I really appreciate this. I can see it's going to be a bit of therapy for me, for sure.
Right, of course, of course. So, tell me a little bit of yourself. I know I gave a little bit of information to our audience, but can we get an information of where what you were exactly doing in this stage? Just tell us.
I did a lot of different things in the States, from working for the Walt Disney Company or AT&T. I was in real estate. I always wanted to write, but I kind of disqualified myself from that and just, you know, did a lot of part-time things. I was raising the kids, taking them to swim practice and school, and I have 3 children of varied ages. So it was a lot of just running around supporting the family and then doing little part-time things to keep me from
Mm-hmm.
going crazy in the house.
Right. So you're a writer. What kind of stories do you write?
Right now I'm working on my second novel. Both are unpublished. Just trying to wrap this up because it's part of a series, and it's historical fiction, so it does focus on the life and times of JFK, John F. Kennedy, and I think it takes us from like 1930 to the present day, and it just explores a little bit of an alternate reality, but placed in a context of some
Very
real time.
impressive. A
Yeah,
novelist. I wish I could be a novelist.
anybody can be a novelist, honestly. Anybody can.
Well, that's good to know. Maybe I could start writing stories of my experiences here in the UK and sort of like a fantasy.
Yeah. What it could have been.
Hopefully, it is a fantasy. Um, so, you were doing various things when you were in the States. So, let's go into the $1 million question. Why did you leave? And when was that? It's 2018, I think.
My husband and I, not to get political, but my husband and I were very concerned with the the gun climate. We were living in Orlando, Florida at the time, and there was obviously a lot of gun violence and mass shootings in school, and it made it very uncomfortable for us to just take our kids to school every day. It was just stressful, worrisome. So when a certain person was became president of the United States, we said, maybe we should, our ancestors did it, right? My husband is of Ukrainian descent. I'm of Italian Irish descent. Our ancestors traveled to the States in search of a better life, and we said, maybe we've got to do this in reverse. And so that's when we started to. He was looking for new opportunities, and we started to explore not just Florida or New York, opened it up to the world. And he got a really great offer from a company in Barcelona, and they moved us over. And that was a really wonderful experience living in Spain. Not perfect, of course, because there's no immigrant experience that is without friction, even in the days of Google Translate and a relocation service. And, we had every benefit that you can have to make it easier to transition from one country to another. And still, it was very hard. So I can't even imagine my ancestors, what they went through without the benefit of the technology and the support that we had. And then COVID hit, and a lot of things shut down. So, and the kids were trapped in an apartment. So, and they were at the time, I want to say 16 and 13. And our eldest is still in the States. He's pursuing a PhD, so he wasn't in the picture. But we went back to Florida for about 6 months while the whole world was locked down for COVID. And then he got another terrific offer from a company in England, and they brought us over here. And that was, they again, a really great experience of a relocation package, making everything as easy as possible. But we did move into a lockdown. It was challenging. We rented this house without being able to see it. We didn't have the ability to travel around and look at different houses. We just took what we could get, and worked out for the most part. We've got some great neighbors.
Right. So job brought you to Barcelona, I take.
My husband's, yes.
So
At
what
that
does your
point, I was
husband
already
do?
writing. Sorry.
Yeah. So what does your husband do?
He manages teams of artists for a gaming company. So right now he works for Playground Games, and they're working on a what looks like an amazing, amazing game, Fable. And he's loving what he does. He loves the team. It's a good culture fit for him, and it's challenging, but it leverages all of his experience and skills, like as an animator, as an artist, as a cinematics expert, if you want to call it that.
Mm, mm. So is that the same field or opportunity that gave you when you moved to the UK?
Yes.
Same
No,
field.
actually, he came over with Ubisoft and then switched to Playground. And Ubisoft is also a gaming company, but he's now with Playground.
I see. Okay. Now, was that an idea? Was that already in the plate or an idea of like the UK from Barcelona, or was it just because there was an opportunity for the job?
No, okay, so honestly, you're gonna get into like what a geek I am. From a very young age, just was very enamored with like the British culture. I had a Union flag on the ceiling in my room. I loved the Smiths and the Cure and Depeche Mode and everything British, and Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility didn't matter. I was a huge fan. You too, obviously not British, Irish, but the music and the culture and the things that I was very drawn to were all, somehow under the umbrella of the UK. So it was always a dream for me personally. My husband, not so much, but he said, let's give it a try. Spain was difficult with the teenagers. And so maybe a year or a year and a half into us being in Spain, we thought maybe an English speaking country might be better for the kids. And so we did that. We had started to focus on opportunities in the UK, and then he got the offer, and we
Mm,
moved. And it was a dream come true. I mean, it was
right. Yeah.
truly, yeah. When we got here, even though it was a lockdown, I was like, I cannot believe we're here. We're going to live in England. This is amazing. This is
Dream
something
come
that
true.
I was dreaming about. Yeah, all my life.
Did you have any connection to the UK prior?
No, not other than a spiritual or artistic, cultural draw. No, no,
Right.
no relatives here. No, I've never visited. We
Mhm.
truly moved in blind.
Right. Have you did you have any idea other than what you've seen? Did you do your little bit of research of what kind of life would you have if you when you move here?
Um, I did. I did quite a bit of research, and I joined all the expat groups on Facebook, and kind of just hovered and listened to the conversations, and
Hmm.
I asked questions. There's an expats website that's really comprehensive for lots of different countries, so I spent a lot of time on that, and most things were very, I don't know, political. I want to say, like, they weren't negative, they weren't positive. Nobody was gushing, but in those expat groups, there were there were warning signs that I think I ignored.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah.
um,
So,
yeah,
mhm,
grumblings that it's hard when people,
mhm,
especially my name is Karen. So
mhm.
especially when people are complaining, I'm a little like, are they complaining? Is this legit complaining? Or is this just Karen complaining? I'm hyper aware of the Karen
Mm-mm.
complaining.
Right. Yeah.
And I really did ignore it. I kind of was like, I dismissed it.
So how has the transition been? Let's go into that. Has it been easy, difficult? How was it? Or is it,
Well,
sorry, let me add on to that.
yeah,
Is it advantage or a disadvantage of being an American living here?
I think any person, and this is again just my opinion and my experience, and again, I've got a lot of privilege. I've got a lot of privilege that came with me moving here, and I'm aware of it. I'm grateful for it. But I think that the nature of the culture in the UK is it's very resistant to change, and it is generally hostile towards things that are different, and things that are challenge them, things that are going to demand any kind of change or response that isn't in the, I don't know, the rigid kind of repertoire of 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 the culture. That's not true of everybody, but I think generally the systems are very resistant to change. The
Can
Crazy.
you explain a little bit of that? Was there an example?
I'll give you the biggest example of, and I don't know if this is what you're asking for, but my major frustration, and I think the deal breaker for us has been our middle child finished sixth form last year, and they were applying to universities, and we understand we're on a working visa here, and we pay the same taxes that a British citizen would pay, which is they're very, very high. And I knew that going in. I knew we were going to come here and pay quite a bit of taxes, but I also expected a return for that. Like in Spain, you pay reduced taxes, but you don't get the same representation, which is understandable. I'm not a citizen. I'm not going to pay as much, and I'm not going to be entitled to as much. And I understand that and I'm willing to make those compromises. But when our middle child, Reese, got accepted into Lancaster, which is a great, great school, top 10 in the UK, really great school, we were so excited. And, I think it's about 10,000 British pounds a year for a home student. And it was explained to us that Reese was going to be treated as an international student, despite being here on a work visa that is, I think, 5 years. And despite us paying as much in taxes as any other British citizen. And so that meant that £10,000 became £25,000, and the residential fee was also everything was like almost double what we had anticipated the cost was going to be. And I wrote to the school and I wrote to the MP and I said, what is like, how do we not qualify as home students? This is where we're living and working, and we're paying into the pot. And MP wrote back, yeah, this is a gap. This isn't the first time we heard that. We're really sorry. We'll have a conversation about it, but really, we're really, really sorry. Kind of like too bad. So that left us with really a very big hole and alternative financing,
Mm.
which we had to get through the U.S. student loans to cover. It was just exorbitant, and
Right.
it was very frustrating. It was like there's like a little, it's a bitter pill to swallow that you're paying so much into a pot and getting and not entitled to just simply the same fee that a home student would pay when you're,
Mm.
yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but yeah,
Right.
that was a, yeah.
So hearing that story, w- what do you think is the biggest difference between the US and the UK?
Um, I think if you come to the United States and you get a green card or you become naturalized, you become a citizen of the U.S. United States, you can call yourself an American. I really do believe that. My grandparents were immigrants from several different countries. My husband's a first generation American,
Myself,
and yeah, so
I know
I
what
mean,
exactly it is. Yeah.
yeah, you can say, hey, I'm an American, I'm an American citizen, and you can kind of plug in to the culture because it is about diversity. No matter the little, I'm not going to say America's not racist country. Like, there's a lot of systemic racism, there's a lot of problems, but I think you can plug in and say, hey, I'm an American, and you can feel like you can be part of the culture. Here, I could live here for 50 years and I don't think I'd ever be able to say I'm a British citizen, even if I had leave to remain, indefinite leave to remain, or I became a British citizen. I don't think I'd ever feel like a British citizen. I don't think I could plug into the culture in the identity that, or identify myself that way. Just, I don't see it.
I mean, I think that's very powerful, and it's sad, that even if you lived here for 50 years, you couldn't really feel like or call yourself as British, even if probably you'll become a citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that. It's a very I don't see that I'd be seen. I'd always be seen as American. But I don't think, like, I don't know about your experience, but you said you came from the Philippines. Like,
Mhm.
when you're in LA, do you feel like, I don't know, are you treated as a foreigner? I don't want to assume,
No,
or
I've never even felt I was different at all, or even think I was different, or even gave a second
yeah,
thought or ask or nothing. I just blend in. I was always happy as everything was exciting, and I was overwhelmed with the opportunities that was there.
that's great.
And yeah, I've always called myself as an American, a little bit of us a Filipino now because I've left the country for so long. So I identify myself more as an American now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what I mean.
yeah,
So,
I understand what you're talking about. So,
yeah.
how does the people that you interact with, or how does the British react to you when you speak and as an American citizen?
I from everywhere that I go, if I go into Tesco or a coffee shop or the library, I don't know. I guess I'm a New Yorker, so maybe I should be rougher, but I'm not. I'm more like, "Hi, how are you?" Before, like, we get into any kind of transaction. "Hi, how are you today?" And there's always like this glaze of um, like what? Like, it's like a weird awkward moment, but I just kind of push forward. There's a human being in front of me. I want to acknowledge that human being who's serving me or helping me. And it's sometimes that's they really respond nicely, like, and other times it is just they don't know what to do, maybe. um so it's a mixed bag, but I think my neighbor is terrific, but my neighbor is British in the way that he has moved all over England. He has grown up in different regions, so he's not kind of same guy same town rest of, for his entire life. So he's interesting in that way. So he's very, very friendly and takes us as we are. But I think by and large there's a bit of a kind of icy wall that comes up with
Mhm.
folks. I haven't really I think I would say other than him, I haven't really made, you know, my husband and I haven't made great friendships. That said, I am in the house most of the time. I write. I have a very peaceful atmosphere in the house, but my husband's out and he talks to people and he's working in the studio. And so there's a, I think he's connecting with more people just because he has more contact with people. So I don't think I'm the best use case for making friendships in a new country. That I've struggled. But I'm also kind of not really willing to invest so much
Yeah.
anymore because I know there's a clock on this. We want to return.
Yeah.
We miss our son. Leaves us with a tricky situation with our middle child, our daughter, who's at Lancaster. But we're
So you
just gonna
said
have
you
to.
have three children, and that includes your son in the States?
My son in the States, he's a PhD student at Rutgers.
Mm,
He's in the biomedical sciences
mm,
department. Our middle child, Reese, is at Lancaster University.
mm,
They are working on a dual program, creative writing and fine art. And
mm,
our youngest, Sienna, is non binary. I'm going to refer to them as them. Sienna is homeschooled because they had a really, really challenging experience here. They did
yes,
1 year at school here in rugby, and it was very emotionally challenging for them. And
I see.
so they're homeschooled, and they're
Mhm,
doing really beautifully with school academically. Their grades are top notch. They're very self directed. That's working well, but they're very socially isolated at 16 years old.
mm,
It's really, really it's emotionally challenging. So there's it's a double-edged sword. We've
right.
had the space to kind of work on our relationships and our family in England. It's been a really beautiful time in that way. We've grown as a family. We've grown much closer, and I've had this very peaceful space to write my novel, and that's wonderful. The landscape is beautiful. It's gorgeous. We take walks, and there are sheep and horses and cows, and that's all really lovely. Um, we're able to focus. But I think the overall expat experience we enjoyed more in Spain. Plus, the food was better.
I was I was speaking to a journalist yesterday, and I was asking about that the wall. Why? I had another guest months and months before. She's very young. She's just 19 and from Yucca Valley in California. And she met her husband online because she's a singer-songwriter and she has a YouTube channel, and her husband, who was young as well, had a gaming channel. Anyway, that's their story. And she describes the Americans as dogs and the British are like cats. Because dogs, Americans are very friendly and carefree. It's like, hi, how are you? Love me. But the cats would be like, oh, who are you? I don't know you. So it's kind of like suspicious. And
Okay.
so my friend, the guest journalist yesterday said that, yeah, that's a very good description. And I said, why? Is that because they're just is it cultural? But she said they're just not trusting. That's what it is. They're not
Yeah.
trusting. So there's like this wall, like they don't want to talk. And for Americans, even on in the lift or elevator, we just say hi. Hey, how are
Yeah.
you? And for them, it's like, No, who are you? I don't know you." So, and there's this another thing also of this physical look. I don't know. You look white, but I'm brown, so I get a different treatment sometimes.
Yeah.
And at first, this just recent where I changed my attitude about it, because before I would get annoyed because I
Mhm.
said, "Well, in America, I never really thought like I was different. I'm fine." And I was told that when a people look at you, it doesn't mean that they're. It's possible that they don't really mean bad, but they probably something pleasing in your look. Why they look? Because I said, "Oh yeah." If it's not pleasing to me, you wouldn't look for a second, like you won't stare. And if it's maybe there's something good in my face that they look at me. So I changed it like in a different way. But
I think
y-
that's a great way to reframe it. I think that's a
yeah,
wonderful way to reframe it to make
I
it
there
more
could
palatable.
it could be possible. It's possibly that that's true. Maybe the if it
I'm
is,
sure in some cases it is. I'm sure in many cases it
yeah.
is.
Would you look for a second if there it's not pleasing to your eye? You probably wouldn't, right? You look back because something like pretty, like, or maybe because I was just different. I don't
It
know.
could be that too. Yeah. I mean, definitely we kind of filter out the
Mm,
sameness and things that are different or unique or
true.
just a change will catch our attention. So I definitely think that's true. But I think
Yeah.
you had a different experience in LA because LA is a very diverse city. You'd
Correct.
have, you'd have a good experience probably in New York as well, but
Hmm.
maybe in Alabama not as much not as great an experience where again it's that homogenous
Yeah.
every, there's this sameness going on.
Yeah.
Um and
I
then
just
it's okay,
yeah.
that's different.
I just try to find a way. What I just do is I just I it never really hurt me. It just kind of like, oh, that's odd. Why would I'm not different? I'm just saying I'm not different. So I just find a way to be able to speak, because when I speak, that changes the whole game. So
Yeah.
sometimes I beef up my accent, like just so if that works, if this is the way I do it, I'll do it. Fine. So if I go somewhere, like I would really find a way to be able to open my mouth. So,
Yeah, I don't know about the eagerness of a dog and the neediness of a dog needing
mm,
affection or whatever, but I kind of agree with that analogy in
mhm.
terms of just the friendliness. Like
Yeah.
we're not, we do want to interact, but I think if you look at the school system and your child's young, so I think you haven't had exposure to that. Is that right? Like to
Mhm.
the actual the way school is here. There's a little bit of and I don't know how to say this and be fair and kind and measured, but I'm just going to say what our experience is.
Mm.
And there is a kind of discouraging culture. You're not encouraged to think freely, and you can be chastised for kind of going outside the lines. Where um, that is where we can be we feel safe enough to be brave or to be friendly, but if you get shamed for going outside of those lines, well, that's going to discourage you. And then they are very much about keeping everybody in the lines. And my youngest really resisted that, the uniform, the sameness, the walk on this side of the thing, don't deviate from that, write it exactly this way, you can't write it, you can't have a creative thought. And they're a very creative, I'm a writer, my husband's an artist. This is a creative family, we play D&D, they play guitar. That's where, he's Ukrainian, I'm Italian Irish, we're Americans. That's where like everything good happens, is in when you have this big soup of difference, and diversity. And the school systems are trying to kind of train it away, you know what I mean, just
Yes.
funnel you through a like sheep, just
Yeah.
go through and just all be the same, do what you're told, don't question.